Hello and welcome to part 14 of my Let's Play series of videos for Dwarf Fortress. So where did we leave off last time? We were in the process of digging out some big bedrooms down here. So I showed you techniques for quantum stockpiling so that I could get rid of all this stone, but realistically taking all of this stone and putting it in the dump over here is going to take a little while, and I don't want my dwarves to continue getting unhappy thoughts from having to share living quarters with a whole bunch of other dwarves. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and start designating furniture to get hauled down here. So the way that you do this is, as I've done before with the table and the dining room and the chairs and things, is you're going to build them. So if you press B for build, you can start selecting furniture. So I'll do B for bed. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and start placing these beds. As I showed you, you just press B for build, B for bed, and then choose a bed to get made. Now if I just keep pressing B and choosing where I want the beds, choosing the beds, and going through here, I'm going to start placing them. This is going to get real boring, so I'm going to pause while I designate all these beds to get built in the rooms. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all of these spots designated for beds to come and be built. So my guys that have furniture hauling enabled will start bringing these beds down here. And the next thing I'm going to do is designate some places for the doors to get built in the doorways. Again, not strictly necessary, but for having a nice room, doors are good. So I'll pause again and start placing some doors. Now actually I saw that I made too many beds, so I'm going to go back up here before I forget to where my carpenter is and tell him to stop making beds non-stop. So press Q. Well, actually I've got him making barrels anyway, so that's good. I had a shortage of barrels, so a lot of my food, as you can see down here, is just getting placed on individual tiles instead of getting stacked up in barrels, which is not great. And also food can rot. Certain food, meats, and I think fish can rot if they're not stored in a barrel, so if I'm not careful, this stuff will go rotten and create miasma clouds. Now, if your dwarves have garbage hauling or refuse hauling enabled, as soon as they get rotten, they should get immediately hauled out to a refuse pile before they make the miasma. But if you're keeping your dwarves really busy, like I am, placing beds and hauling all this stone and stuff, it's possible that it'll get overlooked until it becomes a serious problem. So just be wary of that. Having a stockpile of bins and barrels is never a bad thing, never. So I'm actually going to get rid of this quantum stockpile for the time being, because I think that the order I gave them to dump all this stuff might be getting a higher priority than placing the beds down here, which I don't want. So what I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm just going to go to zones by pressing I. I'm going to go over here to where I put my zone, that's my quantum stockpile, and I'm going to remove the zone by pressing X and then hold down Shift and press X to remove the zone. Now, I believe I've already reclaimed this, as I showed you in one of the previous videos, so I'm just going to double check, press D, B, and then C for reclaim, and yeah, so now that stuff should be reclaimed. Okay, so now that I don't have this stuff, it's designated to be dumped, but there's nowhere to dump it, so theoretically they should stop trying to haul it over here and start bringing some furniture down here. Let's see if that happens. I'll pause. While that stuff is getting paused, I thought I'd give you a quick look into how you can do a fast audit of the happiness of your dwarves. If you come into Dwarf Therapist, which I was demoing earlier, you can see that this one column, hopefully you can see this, is called happiness. So if you mouse over it, it will actually give you pretty detailed information on just how happy your dwarf is. So I see I've got one guy here who's just content. This guy's just happy, and some of my guys are actually very happy. They're ecstatic. So that's the best they can be. So maybe they're not quite as unhappy as I had thought, but this will keep them from getting too unhappy. So this guy currently, one of these that's just content somewhere, is, if something bad happened to him, it's entirely possible that he could go berserk, like I said before. He could be the one-man tipping point that launches the tantrum spiral. So I figure it's always a pretty good idea to keep your dwarves as happy as possible. within reason. Anyway, so let me pause again, and we'll see how the furniture hauling is coming along. Apparently everybody's either building things, sleeping, or on break. So hopefully when some of these slackers get done sleeping and eating and whatnot, that furniture will get moved down. Now notice I've actually got a legendary farmer now, so sweet. Okay, my guys have finally started dragging these beds down here into these rooms. So now I have to show you how you're going to go about setting these rooms to be just for one particular dwarf. And it's pretty easy. First thing you need to do is, in a similar way to how we created a dormitory from one bed, we're going to do that here. So here's a room that I've got. It's already got a bed and a door, so I'll make this my very first bedroom. First things first, you're going to press Q and then move your cursor near the bed. Press R to make it a bedroom. It's going to have this blinking blue stuff that's going to ask you to size the room. You can use plus and minus to change the size of the room. The nice thing about having a door to a room is that it basically will automatically set the size of the room to go no farther than the door. It will fill the entire room. So that's part of the reason I like having it. If I was to escape out of this and go down here to where this bed is, where this room doesn't have a door, watch what happens. See, I can keep expanding this beyond the door here, and that's kind of annoying, so having a door is cool for that reason too. Anyway, let me get back up here. So R for bedroom, press enter to set the size. Now we've got these options up here. What I want to do is press A to assign the bed. So press A. Now you can use your plus and minus keys to choose who you want this to belong to. I would usually just start from the top of the list and work my way down, but the expedition leader is going to be turned into a noble, and he's going to require some fancier accommodations soon, so I'm just going to go ahead and make this one for my miner, Sibrick, Duckle, something. Alright, so that's all there is to it. And now you can see down here it says current owner is this guy. So instead of sleeping upstairs in the common dormitory right here, he'll sleep in his own room down below. So I can go and assign these to the other guys. Again, just R, set the size of this thing, press enter, then press A to assign the bed, and just work your way down the list. And give all your guys a bedroom to call their own. And you'll see this when you look at the sort of dwarven psychology section. When you press V, go over the guy, press Z, and then press enter for thoughts and preferences. You'll see that, for instance, this person, it says she slept without a proper room recently. So once she has her own bedroom, it'll say something to the effect of she enjoyed an exceptional bedroom lately, or something like that, and that will give her really good thoughts. And so, look, you can see other things here that she complained about. She's complained of the lack of dining tables recently. She's been tired of drinking the same old booze lately. So hopefully diversifying my crops will rectify some of this stuff and building the extra tables in the super dining room. Alright, so let me pause for a second. Okay, so changing gears for a minute here. I want to make my fortress defended without going too much into the military system just yet. That will be in an upcoming video and not too far off. I can't really afford to go too long without giving some consideration to military, but what I can do is make my fortress almost impenetrable to the kind of creatures that you're likely to encounter at this phase in the game, just by building some simple traps in the entryway. So the way that you need to make traps is by first building a mechanics workshop. I've built one right here already. The way that you do this is just by B for build, and then W for workshop, and then I believe it is T down here, mechanics workshop. So like I said, I've already built it. I'm going to assign a task to it. I'm going to go A, add new task, and then this is what you want to make here, rock mechanisms. I believe each trap you make is going to take one mechanism, and if I go up here, I want to do at least like a 3x3 bank of traps right in the entrance here to catch intruders. So I'll go ahead and have them make 9 mechanisms, or just however many I can make. Let me fill this up. Okay, so that'll do it for now. So my mechanic slash mason guy who I think is right here, will eventually come up here and start making some stuff. Now the next thing I want to show you real quick is a really good thing that you can do to have a little makeshift security at the entrance to your fort. What we're going to do is take some of those war dogs that we brought along and we're going to tie them up at the entrance. Having that there will be good because if something tries to come in, they'll be forced to pass right by our war dogs, which will get some hits in on them. They will be restrained, so unfortunately they won't be able to chase them down, but you can release them from the restraints if you need to. The other thing that's good is that they serve as kind of stealth detectors. Certain goblins, ambushers and thieves and kobold thieves and things like that will have almost like a stealth, and you won't even know that they're in your fortress until they're already on their way out with some of your valuable stuff. So anyway, without further ado, the way that you do this is you press B, and then you're going to build a restraint, hotkey V. And what you need for this is either a chain or a rope. Well, I happen to bring some at the beginning of the game, so I'll place one here. I have pigtail fiber ropes. I'll press enter, and then I'll place another one here. And then we'll wait for these to get placed, and I'll show you how you can chain up a dog to one of these restraints. So I'll pause the video until... Alright, well, the fun never stops in Dwarf Fortress. So I just caught some migrants while I was waiting for the chains to get built. This is pretty funny. I took a look at Dwarf Therapist to see how many new dwarves I got. My population went up from 18 to 42, so I've over double the number of dwarves that I had before. I'm going to have to go through all of these guys and see what needs to be done. Now, funny thing to note is that as soon as these migrants came, the happiness of all my dwarves went down. To be honest, I'm not really sure. I'd never seen that happen before. I guess I just never noticed it. If somebody wants to reply in the comments and confirm that population affects happiness of dwarves, that would be cool. But anyway, so I'm going to have to deal with this pretty shortly. Fortunately, I have a huge surplus of food and drinks and things right now, so this shouldn't be a tremendous problem, but let me pause for a second. We'll go back and look at those restraints and show how to get the dogs chained up there. Okay, so I've got the game paused. Here are those restraints. They look like little ropes in the entrance. So, as you might expect by now, you're going to use Q. And you're going to bring it over by the rope, and then you are going to press A to assign an animal to the chain. So these are all the ones that I can chain up. Now, if I wanted to, I could chain up kittens, but I'm not sure that that would be a very scary defense, so I'm actually just going to take the war dogs, even though having kittens chained at the entrance to my fort would be really goddamn cute. And I'll go here, and I'll make another war dog chained up. So now if I resume this, eventually some people are going to come dragging those war dogs up here, and they'll be permanently placed here. Now you don't need to worry about electronic cruelty to electronic animals, because the animals, the dogs and cats and things, don't really need to eat in this game, so they'll be fine chained up there for eternity. Notice this one came with all her little puppies. How nice. Okay, so now let me pause again. Alright, the most basic kind of trap that you can build is a cage trap. Basically, it's just a trap that drops a cage on whatever activates it. Now, the way that you do this, first you have to have mechanisms for the traps themselves, and then you also need to have cages. Cages are made from wood. They can also be made from metal. I don't know if they can be made from stone, but I don't think so. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to have a couple of cages built. So let me resume this, wait for the cages to get built, and then I will show you how to make those traps. So I'm actually running out of time here, so that'll do it for this episode, and the next one will cover traps and military.